Hey guys, today we are going to be looking at this welding helmet made by Antra, and so we're going to turn around, put it on the desk, and we can take a look at it, and I can start talking about it. So yeah. All right, so here it is. This, obviously, as I said, is a welding helmet made by Antra. Obviously, it is probably more than likely a company from China, which I'm pretty sure it is. It is a very very budget friendly welding helmet. I welded with this thing for, I think, basically a year. I welded with it a lot. I'm welding for college, so I spend a lot of time welding, about 4 hours every day welding. And so I spent like most of my time with this helmet here. So I have gotten, I've done a lot with this helmet. And I really like it, especially for its price. I think it's priced around $40-ish, I'm pretty sure. So it is a very good price. Really love it. And if it's pretty obvious, you can see all the spatter marks from overhead, me doing overhead welding. I did have to repair it right there with, I just used a soldering iron, but it's a plastic welder. You can see all the spatter that has been stuck to the lens. The actual auto darkening lens says Antra right there. I've had to replace a lot of these external lenses. I really like it, and obviously because of that, it means it's super flexible. It's a very flexible hood, and the shell definitely goes out a lot. Obviously, as I just showed you. So, the lens is very nice. Obviously, it's not like a really high-end lens, so it's like green or whatever. Me personally, the lens doesn't bother me. As long as I can see through it, I'm completely fine with it. As long as it doesn't, as long as I can still see through the lens, the auto darkening piece, I really don't care. There are two of the arc sensors or whatever. Then there's the solar strip to charge the batteries, and this takes one of those like little disc batteries. So yeah, I do love, you see it on a bit more of the budget helmets, this dial to go from your highest shade to your lowest shade and then grind. I really like the convenience of that and not having to reach inside the helmet and do all that. You do have the sensitivity and the delay in here, and then this little switch, I think, so it's from 9 to 14 now, and then you switch it from 9 to 5, so you can see 14 to 9, that was the first switch. Now we're on 9 to 5, so this would be like where you would have your shades for plasma cutting and torch cutting and such. So yeah, I really like the convenience of the dial here instead of reaching inside the helmet and doing all that. So yeah, so I really like this helmet. I'm a very big fan of it for how inexpensive it is and how nice it is. Like, obviously at this price point, you're not gonna get too much. You're not gonna get a lot, but I still really like it. Obviously, these knobs you spin for your headgear. It's a little tight. I like mine a bit tighter. I don't like to flip my helmet down. I like to just move it down with my hand. And then you get these little things on the side to make it sit back, sit more forward, do all those things. Have a QR code in there if you want to scan it for parts and stuff. So yeah, I really like the helmet. It's nice. It's not, it's definitely cheap quality, more inexpensive. You can definitely tell because how flexible it is. The shell especially is not great. And obviously this is probably made in like the exact same factory as like all the other ones on Amazon, not specifically Antra, but all the other Amazon brands, and like the Harbor Freight, the lower end Harbor Freight ones, this is probably made in the exact same factory. But I still really like it. I really like this helmet. especially for, once again, it's very inexpensive price. So yeah, so to change the lenses for this one, I just pull it out, the external lens, and then I just I put that edge in, and then I flex it in and do that, and there's a little spot right there. And if it is a little tight, what I found when I was using this helmet every day is that you could use a little piece of MIG wire and pull it out, stick it behind there and pull it out, but especially when you have big thick gloves on. So to take the border edge out, you come to these big tabs and you just push them in, and this one I can probably just push the tabs from the back if I can see them there, and it's a bit of a pain, but it's better. It's a bit better than other things. It's just like a little tab you have to push in and then push out. I'm not going to take the whole like lens out, the whole auto darkening lens, because then you have to take the dial off and everything to be able to even pull it out, because it's connected by a little wire. You might be able to see it. You can see the wire right there. So that is something you'll have to deal with if, like, you probably won't ever have to change that, because the battery for it is under this little cap, and I can show you that. You just twist it to the side and pull it off, and the battery's right there. So it's not too difficult, so there's no real reason to have to change this lens out. And obviously this little lens, you just put your fingernail in there and pull it out. So yeah, that's really it for everything here. I did make some shells for this out of some steel and some fiberglass. So I'll get this helmet off the desk so we can look at those too. So yeah. Okay, so here they are now, the helmet shells. So this one is made out of steel, if you can see the awful weld beads on them, because the welder that I have here at my house is very awful, doesn't work hardly at all. That's why I can't really test and show off how the lenses work on the helmet, like what it looks like when you're welding in the lens. It's just a little unfortunate, but basically, if I'm buying a welding helmet, I'm not worried about the lens clarity or anything. I'm worried about all the features that the helmet and the shell have. So we'll look at the first one that I made. Just set the fiberglass one off the side. Obviously, this was not a good idea because it's steel. It's big. It's huge. It's heavy. And this was before I fixed the original shell. So there were a bunch of holes and stuff that had gotten burnt into it. And I wanted to make a pancake hood like what pipeliners have, but I decided, well, what if I need something at the top or some on the side? And then it just turned into more of a traditional shaped welding helmet. So this is what it became. I think it weighs like 3-4 pounds. So you would never want to wear this. I think probably the heaviest helmet that I've ever worn is my Miller VSI, I think, the one with the flip up grinding shield, and I think it's around 2 pounds, and it's not that cumbersome, but this definitely is. I did have the headgear in it at one point, and I did try it on my head, and it was just so heavy. I had to crank the headgear down so tight just to even keep it up. So yeah, it was a very fun experiment to try to do it, and I love the red. This is just like a rattle can spray paint job, so it's not great, but it was really fun making this, so yeah. So now on to the more practical one, the one that could actually work. This is a fiberglass one. I did not use strips of fiberglass. I did two big sheets of fiberglass, so obviously I got all these wrinkles and stuff in it, and it's delaminating right there. That's like just some cat fur. I apologize. And I used JB Weld as like a Bondo or a body filler, sort of. And then I stiffened it with an old license plate, and then riveted it on. And then this is like a little plastic piece to hold the auto darkening lens in, and then this is also a piece of the license plate to stiffen that up. Once again, it was a very fun experiment to do this. Learned some sort of like body work with this, grinding it smooth and stuff, somewhat smooth. But they're just not practical, especially for a cheap hood, where you can just use a soldering iron or a wood burner or a plastic welder and fix all the holes that you might get from spatter or the big BBs that fall off, like if you're doing overhead welding or just anything like that. But it is a very fun experiment. And once again, a cheap hood, so if you ruin something, it's okay. Like if you accidentally break something on the hood or helmet, it doesn't matter while you're building one of these. And if you don't mind, build one and have fun with it, because they're very fun to make. It was a very good experiment. And if I wasn't welding in a spot where like I have to actually sort of listen to the rules and like regulations of being safe, the lens would be in this helmet, because this one's way too heavy and everything. But it's just a very fun to do something like this with a very inexpensive helmet that really doesn't matter. So if you have an inexpensive helmet, or you're willing to try it with a more expensive helmet, go ahead. It's very fun to make your own shell. In my personal opinion, it's just really fun. And I might revisit this someday and do it a bit better. So, gonna bring the actual helmet onto the table and finalize my thoughts. So here the hood is back on the desk, and just gonna finalize my thoughts. One of my favorite things about this helmet is that its price. You know, $40, $30, $40, around that price. It's a very good deal. Really like it, especially for a student or a hobbyist. It's a very, very good deal. If you want a better helmet for a bit better of a price that you could use and not have to worry about, is the Miller Classic. I think they're around $100. But if you don't do a lot of welding, or you just don't like spending around that much money on a helmet, you can buy this one. And for how easy it is to fix, for how easy it is to essentially make your own shells for it. And I don't know how much a new shell for this would cost, but it's probably not that much. It's just a very good deal. And no matter where you go, you're going to find good helmets for cheap. You know, if you buy this one, if you buy, basically the same looking helmet on Amazon or eBay or places like that, or if you go down to your local hardware store and they have just a regular old kind of like sugar scoop pipeline helmet with a fixed shade, that's like $12. They're all good. This isn't it. You can find good cheap helmets a lot of places, and this helmet is a very good example for how easy it is to fix, how easy it is to buy a new shell, for how easy it is to make your own shell. And for how reliable it is. This thing, all it does is work. It doesn't need to have any frills or anything, and that's what I want. It's something that just straight up functions and just works phenomenally. Something that is kind of very crucial to me is that I'm not the biggest guy on I need to look cool or look good. I don't need to drive a nice clean car. I don't need to have big fancy tools. And I'm sort of like that with welding helmets. I don't care if I'm using a cheap helmet like this, but I want it to look nice. If I'm going to wear it on my head, I want it to look nice. That's weird because I don't care what kind of shirt I wear. I don't care what kind of pants I wear. But when it comes to welding helmets, if I don't like the look of it, no matter how nice it is, if I don't like the look of it, I probably won't be buying it. And that's something that I really like about this helmet, is that it looks nice, it functions nice. It's not the strongest, it's not the greatest, but for its price, you can't hardly beat it. I wouldn't say go into a professional production setting with this helmet. You'll probably run into limitations with it, and things like that. So I would suggest graduating to something a bit more substantial. But this helmet is still very nice. I wouldn't be afraid to go into a production or professional setting with this helmet, but I probably wouldn't have the greatest 8-hour days in the world with this helmet. But I still really like it. I still recommend people to get this helmet or helmets adjacent to it. I've had nothing but good opinions about this. Obviously the spatter and everything, you can really see how much it digs into it. But that's just something you are going to have to come to expect with something like this, or a cheaper helmet around this price point. But once again, I fixed it super easily, fixed it in like 10 minutes with a soldering iron and like an old bucket. Piece of plastic from an old bucket, you know. So I really, really recommend this helmet to everyone who needs a cheap helmet. Whether you weld a lot, weld a little bit, whether you're going to school or for a college class, or you're just helping your grandpa or dad on a farm. This is a very nice helmet. The battery, I don't think I've ever had to change. The only reason why I have a different battery in this is because when I got one of my new helmets, my Miller VSI, I think, I took the battery out of this guy, and that battery's still going strong. So you don't have to worry about the battery going out. I've never had anything wrong with that. So yeah, I really recommend this helmet or helmets adjacent to this. You can just see that it's still dusty and dirty from me doing flux core and stick, is that I put this thing through its paces, and I really recommend it, because if you have better habits with overhead, you're not gonna really burn through this thing unless you really like putting your face up close to when you're welding overhead like I do. You're gonna burn that out. But if you're further back, you're not burning yourself, you'll never blow through this thing, I bet. But I really recommend this thing to anyone who just needs a cheap helmet, or even just wants a helmet for a backup or whatever. Really recommend this one. And you can get them in all different colors, different graphics, I think. I just have the black one. I don't like graphics. I'm not the biggest fan of graphics, but really like this helmet. So yeah. So we're going to turn around and end the video. So yeah, that's all. I really like the helmet. I really suggest to a lot of people to buy helmets like that. Buy the Antra, or I suggest either the Antra or the like Chicago Electric from Harbor Freight, or any cheaper helmet of that kind. One of my classmates graduated from the Chicago Electric from Harbor Freight, like the base model, to a Miller Classic, and my other classmate is still using his same Chicago Electric from Harbor Freight. So you can buy inexpensive helmets for like good, reliable, inexpensive helmets, and the Antra is no exception. I really like it. I see them like on Facebook Marketplace. I've seen like a couple of them. They're very nice helmets, and I highly recommend anyone buy them, because they're very nice, reliable helmets for their price. And I've done a lot with mine. I've put it through its paces. Not to the professional degree, I would say, especially not to like a structural welder or a pipeliner, obviously, because I'm not working around pipes. I'm not bound up on like pipes and stuff, or needing a hard hat. I'm not building like those big fuel tanks and stuff. So that you're probably going to want a bit better of a helmet. But probably in a more basic production setting at a more basic factory, or especially in a college or a welding class of some sorts, they're very nice. So I really recommend it. Once again, as I said when we were on the bench. But yeah, that's what I have to say. So till next time, see ya.